Well, it's Friday afternoon, and we're live from the Crittenden Press studio here in the Crittenden Press office in Marion, Kentucky. We'd like to welcome everyone to this week's new community news conference. As most of you know, if you've watched before, we do this every Friday at 3:30 during this current COVID-19 crisis, and today we have as our guest Pastor Chris McDonald of Life in Christ Church. It'd be as you're looking at your screen on the right, and then many of you already know too, Judge Perry Newcomb, the County Judge Executive, and we're going to talk to these two fine gentlemen about some of the latest news and what's going on in the community. And Pastor McDonald's going to talk to us about Holy Week. This is one of the greatest weeks of the year for Christians, and we're going to visit with him about what his church is doing and some of the other innovations around town. I want to remind you today that our news conference is brought to you by Marion Pit Barbecue. That's on Main Street in Marion. Call or check out their Facebook page. They have chicken and ribs many days during the week, so check their daily specials. And just remember that Marion Pit Barbecue has been drive-through before drive-through was cool, guys. They've always been the drive-through, and hey, it's great barbecue and great sauce. If you haven't stopped by, check out Marion Pit Barbecue. Just Hatfields, no McCoys out there. Judge Newcomb, let's talk a little bit about any type of updates you have on the coronavirus. Last count, I can't even remember how many. I think we had 4 outstanding cases, but all negative from Crittenden Hospital.
Right. And I don't remember now how many that takes us up to as far as testing. I think it's
16 or 17.
Yeah, 17, somewhere in that range. We've still only had the 3 positives. Fortunately, one of those 3 seems to be getting better. Last I spoke with them, they were doing quite a bit better. The first 2 positives still remain in the hospital, not doing quite as well. So everybody please keep them in your prayers and that family. I know they're struggling and trying to deal with this. And you know, the one family member is still quarantined at their home. So he's still at this time not showing any symptoms, which is a great thing. But just that family definitely needs to be lifted up a lot.
Judge, and I'll introduce myself. My name's Chris Evans. I'm the publisher and the editor of the Crittenden Press, and I'm your host every week. And you don't see me, but you can hear my voice, so I'd like to tell you who I am. Judge Newcomb, I know there's been some incidences over the last few days. Maybe you've mentioned the weather's getting nice. Maybe people are becoming a little more cavalier about the social distancing. Tell us what you expect as our community leader.
Yeah, you know, it's understandable. The better the weather gets, the more people want to get out and about, the more people want to gather and play games with one another, have a picnic lunch, what have you. But at this point, we still need to continue to push and keep that social distancing effort at the forefront of everybody's mind. You know, we've only got 3 positives here, and I think part of the reason for that is that we've done such a great job as a community of keeping our separation and keeping hygiene at the forefront of our minds and our thoughts and our actions. Yeah, we've had a couple instances recently where we've had some pretty large gatherings that we've had to disperse. So we just don't, you know, we don't want to go there yet. If we could just push through another, I think 2 to 3 weeks, hopefully then we can start seeing some semblance of normalcy start to return. But you know, and speaking with the Department of Health, you know, some of the surrounding counties continue to have positive cases. They continue to grow in positives, and we certainly don't want that to happen here if we can keep from it at all. You know, Lyon County, our neighbor to the southwest, unfortunately, they've got a situation there at that nursing home at Rivers Bend where they've had, I think last report I had was 5 positives, and they expect that to grow as well. But they're doing the best they can over there to manage through that situation. Fortunately, with respect to our hospital and our nursing home, we've not had that, and thank God for that.
Now would probably be a good opportunity to show that we are practicing safe protocol here. There is plastic plexiglass between these two gentlemen. I have some comments here about 6 feet apart, guys. So just let you know, we have set up our studio here to be COVID-19 not proof, but certainly better than just sitting here side by side.
Yeah, Chris and I appreciate the sneeze guard.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Pastor Chris McDonald of Life in Christ Church here in Marion, just south of town, one of the largest congregations in the community. Pastor Chris, tell us, I know you guys do a lot of innovative things year-round, but this is a particular challenge, isn't it?
It is a big challenge. And really, at first, I don't think anybody knew how we were going to meet the challenge in any area. And so we're thinking, it's a week or two, kind of what they were saying. And then when the hammer fell, we thought, wow, we're going to have to really change our game up, And so basically we just started doing exactly what we're doing here for the first couple times. And then now we've been going live every night, just trying to stay in front of the people, encourage the people, and just be in their life as much as we can, just the whole trying to stay away from everybody deal. And for a lot of people, that's hard, because
particularly for Christians who love to hug and love fellowship and shake hands. And right now, we're here right in the midst of Holy Week, one of the most popular times of the whole year for Christians. And how are you dealing with Easter? Everybody likes to be seen in that Easter dress, and now it's going to be tough.
Well, we're going to have them take pictures and post them to our page, and we've heard some people are going to bling up their pajamas. So I don't know about all that, but whatever. So we're doing that just to try to let people, hey, I want to dress up for Easter, and then we've got some that's saying they're going to dress up and while their family's in their pajamas. I don't know if that's some kind of family deal. They're trying to shame them at the table or what, but we're just trying to do the best we can. And we'll have an Easter service, and I'll actually preach from the church, but of course, be an empty room, but we'll go into living rooms all over the place and still celebrate the resurrection.
Anything that you've seen that any of the churches here, or maybe you've seen from elsewhere on social media or the internet, that has been so innovative, you said, hey, that's a great idea. Maybe we could look at doing that. Anything particular?
Well, just the fact that we need to up our game, and we're working on that process now with just better camera capability and all that. Where you can go live on YouTube, you can go. It's pretty crazy, really, the technology that's out there that you just kind of, I guess, you take for granted, don't think about. Then all of a sudden, it's like we got to have all that, And so we're just working on it and doing the best we can. And I know a lot of my pastor friends, they're shooting every night from their living room, and just kind of making a makeshift set in their living room, and just trying to help people as much as we can.
40 years ago, this would have been a lot more of a challenge to get your messages out.
Well, you
couldn't have done it.
Carrier pigeon, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea. Some of them are having the drive-up services, and there's one pastor here down at Seven Springs, Weist, is has an FM transmitter so that they can listen in their cars. So people are getting very innovative and new ways to do things. It's interesting. I'll remind you that today's news conference is brought to you by Marion Pit Barbecue. Just the Hatfields there, no McCoys. They have chicken and ribs, and you can find out what their daily specials are by checking their Facebook page. It's one of the best barbecue sandwiches in the South. And if you don't believe me, stop by and try it. The sauce is
Are
amazing.
we getting one of those sandwiches today, Terry? I don't know what the deal
I don't
is.
know, I don't smell any barbecue yet. We'll see.
Well, we appreciate Marion Pit Barbecue, and don't forget they have been in the drive-by business since before drive-by was cool. So, Judge, above and beyond this coronavirus, we have other things going on in our community, and one of the biggest events or the biggest announcements I think that we've had in quite some time is that we're getting almost $12 million supposedly coming down the pike sometime for a new courthouse. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of the dilemma that puts the county in? Anytime you get free money, many times there's a match.
Sure, Chris. Yeah, we were very fortunate to be left in the budget this year. Of course, the last, I guess, 2 budget cycles, we've been told we would be getting funding for a new judicial center here in Crittenden County. But at the 11th hour, that money would be pulled out and things shifted. And so, we carried the fight again this year, made a trip to Frankfurt, spoke with senators, with the budget committee chair, everybody we could possibly think to talk to that was involved in that decision process of who is funded and who is not. And fortunately this year we were able to remain in the budget. So $11.9 million. So that's about as close to 12 million as you can possibly get. The decision now for us as a county and a community will be, do we want county offices to remain in the same building as that judicial facility? And the problem, you can't just say yes to that. There's a match involved, as you mentioned, and that match is 25%. So if we want our county offices to remain in that same facility, we're gonna have to devise a plan and a way to pay basically $3 million to stay in that building. So we're gonna put together a committee. The Judicial Center project requires a committee to be put together. The Administrative Office of Courts out of Frankfurt determine who sits on that committee. And I've been given that information several months ago, but I can't remember off the top of my head now the exact composition of that committee. But I know there will be one citizen member, myself. I think the county attorney sits on it, the circuit judge, possibly the district family court. I'm not sure. The circuit clerk, I think, sits on that committee, and then several AOC folks out of Frankfurt on that as well. But basically, it'll be the responsibility of that committee to devise a plan and seek architects and engineering firms to complete this project to what we feel like or what we hope to see it become. So, and then also a part of that committee will be determining whether the county wants to remain in that facility. And then we'll probably be hosting some public meetings around the community as this thing progresses, just to get the comments from the public on how they feel about that. I think personally, and this is just Perry Newcomb speaking, as the citizen side of me, to me, $3 million is an awful lot of money just to have a few offices in a new building whenever we have other options that I think we can pursue for far less than $3 million.
Well, the elephant in the room is always the dollar sign, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's always money, no matter what you're doing. And Pastor Chris, even in the faith-based business, there's a need for money. Churches have payrolls, sure. And I know it's particularly in this rural area, electronic giving for your tithes and gifts and offerings may have been slow to come, but I think it may be picking up pace just a little bit right now, isn't it?
Yeah, we've been doing that now for maybe 3 or probably 3 years, maybe 4, and I was a little surprised, honestly, how fast it caught on. And
Prior to this,
obviously, since this, it's
Even
picked up
more so.
more. You know, some of the people that would give in person are giving online now. You know, but actually, we had it had gained a lot of traction before.
Mhm.
Before that, but everybody's got a cell phone in their hand, so
right.
I mean,
What are you now? Churches qualify for many of these relief packages. I know there's a couple. The payroll protection plan they qualify for, and then there's also a grant that's out there by the Small Business Administration that they can qualify for. Are you hearing of many or most churches that you're aware of? Are they applying for this type of relief?
several that I know of are have applied for the, I guess it's the PPP,
Right.
whatever they initialed it, but just to to help with payroll staff. I mean, I know some of my friends they have they have several different campuses, so they have large staffs that they have to try to keep employed, and it's tough sometimes. I mean, as it would be with anything, any kind of business or whatever, and most people don't want to look at church being run like a business, but
We forget that it is.
you have lights and payroll and,
That's right.
and insurance and all the other stuff that goes along with it, so.
And I want to visit with you just real quick about something that's beyond the pulpit. Is turkey hunting.
All right.
Now, you and I first became acquainted many years ago through turkey hunting.
Yep.
And I know you still like to get out there in the spring and
Absolutely.
rattle a box call or whatever you do. But what can you tell our viewers today? How's it coming together? Is it going to be perfect time to get you a gobbler? Is it?
I don't know about perfect, but
Yeah.
it's better than it has been. I am seeing more birds out around, and then several of my turkey hunting friends are seeing more birds. So the outlook is good that you will hear and see gobblers now. That's up to you whether you can get one or not. But
The last few years, there's been a tailing off, if you will, of the numbers, the harvest
Sure.
numbers. And from the field reports I'm hearing right now, is just like you're saying, a lot of people are seeing more turkeys, places maybe they haven't in the last few years. We even had a study here, the biologist from Frankfurt came down and did a study. Couldn't find anything particular that was causing these decline in numbers. So it sounds like you're encouraged by what's going on.
oh, for sure, I could tell last year a difference in number where I hunt, and then this year, for sure, there's a difference.
You don't have any friends from other states that missed the chance to buy their non-resident license, do you?
I do not.
Yeah. So Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife last week, if you haven't heard, stopped all non-resident hunting licenses. So Judge Newcomb, hunting's big business in Crittenden County. Do you think this is going to affect us any year?
It's huge. I do believe it'll affect us, just as this whole COVID-19 aspect has affected all our businesses. Unfortunately, even those from out of state that may have already gotten their hunting license prior to that decision, there was the requirement, if you come in from out of state for an extended stay, you've got to self-quarantine for 14 days. So, it's going to make it really tough on anybody coming from out
They
of
need
state.
to be here already.
Yeah, to get much hunting done. If they own some property locally, they can probably come in and go to that property and basically quarantine on that property. Yeah, it's definitely, and not just for Crittenden County. There's several counties around the state. I've spoken with several colleagues from up like Bell County, Russell County, Cumberland County, several counties that have a lot of hunters that come in to hunt. Not only turkey season, but deer,
Sure.
but obviously turkey's what's affected this year. So.
Well, we're going to wrap this up. I want to remind everybody that today's broadcast is brought to you by Marion Pit Barbecue. Remember, they were drive-by when drive-by wasn't cool. You can check ahead on their Facebook page for daily specials, chicken and ribs, and some of the best barbecue and the best sauce around, guys.
Absolutely.
Still looking for some. I don't know what
we,
to do.
Well, it's Holy Week, Pastor McDonald, and what's our takeaway from this for this Holy Week? If you're home with your family, what do you do?
Well, I'll continue to worship God. You know, Jesus is still risen. It's not like we're canceling Easter.
Yep.
You know,
Amen.
and so we're gonna press on as usual, and you know, just don't take your family for granted. You know, draw them close, gather around, talk about. You know, today we celebrate Good Friday. Although Good Friday wasn't too good for Jesus, right? It's good for us because we know what he did on the cross. But Sunday's coming, and the resurrection's coming. What we celebrate the resurrection, of course, it's already happened. But you know, we're gonna press on and press forward, and you know, we'll all be back together soon enough, and it'll be good. This with no handshakes or maybe fist bumping.
Judge, what's your takeaway here? What we are almost a month into this.
Yeah, you know, just to touch on what Pastor Chris was talking about, and I think I mentioned this early on one of these forums, was that we're going to accomplish things. It's just going to look a little different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. You know, we're still able to conduct business. We're still able to do what, for the most part, what we need to do. Is just getting it done a little differently than what we hope for or would like to see. You know, as we press forward, again, I can't stress enough, just continue to distance, continue to practice your hygiene as best we possibly can, and you know, continue to pray for not only our community and our neighbors, but our entire nation and basically the world. I mean, this is a worldwide epidemic, so.
And just be respectful, be responsible, and we'll all get through this, as they say, together, but 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
That's right.
Or with glass in between
Be
you.
safe. Carry a 6
Peck
foot
on that
stick.
glass one more time so everybody knows we're COVID proof.
It's
There you
real.
go.
It is.
Hey, thank you for joining us today for our community news conference. We'll remind you once again that today's broadcast has been brought to you by Marion Pit Barbecue. Let's all stop by and have a sandwich out there. Just Hatfields, no McCoys out there. So stop by and check out their chicken and the ribs. I had the chicken this week. It's really good. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here, and we will see our viewers next week. Same time, same place. Thanks a lot. This is Chris Evans
Thank you.
with the Crittenden Press.